Uh, another one, another situation that is too common are situations where the patient it goes in for a neuter or a spay. The sutures aren't tied tightly enough. Uh, they start bleeding internally, and by the time it's recognized, it's too late. The patient passes. So these are things that are, you know, should be avoidable. They are avoidable if the staff and the veterinarian pays closer attention.
Right.
So those are a few. Those are the two of the more common things that we see. Uh,
So
le-
I had talked to you about that a long time ago. So I met Scott through my podcast. I brought him on because I was very interested in this because I've witnessed veterinary malpractice many times, too many to even think about because it's so heartbreaking. But when I first met you, you had told me that a lot of what you get is the dental and the anesthesia. And so I don't know if I told you this, but I went to a bunch of my veterinary friends and asked them if we could come up. Now, these are assumptions. Certainly not saying this has happened in every case, but we wanted to know, when I asked them, I said, why do you think it's happening? I had my theory based on, I used to do a lot of vet dentals. That was my main job. I did dental cleaning for the vets. So I had my theory and I wanted to know if these vets agreed with me as to why that happens. And they all agreed that they thought that was the problem. And I will tell you what I think it was. I think that dental cleaning from a veterinarian's mindset, as far as it being a major surgery, something, that the vet tech can't do or shouldn't be doing, it's kind of minimized in the veterinary world. Oh, he's here for a dental. He's here for a dental. And they kind of push him through. And then they put the vet tech in charge of the anesthesia machine. And it should not be the case. And so the vet leaves the room, the vet tech, and a lot of vet techs they're not even licensed to even be able to use. Most vet techs in this country are vet techs, and they're doing a lot of vet tech stuff, but they're not licensed. They're not RVTs, registered veterinary technicians, and they shouldn't be running the anesthesia machine. And I think that is and all of the vets that I spoke to agreed. They thought that was probably why that's happening, is that the vet techs are putting in charge and they don't really know. And when you're, scaling teeth, believe me, you're down in there and you're trying to pay attention and the machine's over here. So, to be constantly looking, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be, but I'm saying you have to be trained to do that or have someone monitoring. If you think about from a human standpoint, one person monitors that machine. The surgeon isn't doing his job and monitoring the machine. You have an anesthesiologist. And so I would say to our listeners, be darn sure that that's happening if you're getting your pet under anesthesia for teeth cleaning. Because what was so interesting to me is how many more cases are coming across for dental cleaning under anesthesia versus a neuterer or a spay that's under. Why aren't those dogs? Why aren't we having so many of those dogs dying under anesthesia? So that was just something I wanted to point out, because I think people go in all the time to get non-anesthesia, and to find out that that's the biggest thing that you're being sent is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
on the subject of practice below the standard of care, I pulled up the Florida statute that relates, and this is the language that the Florida Board of Veterinary Medicine is supposed to base their decision on when determining if there's a violation of this statute. So here it is. Being guilty of incompetence or negligence by failing to practice medicine with that level of care, skill, and treatment, which is recognized by a reasonably prudent veterinarian as being acceptable under similar conditions and circumstances. So, like you were saying, if these other vets would have, no, I would never would have done that, okay, so that meets the criteria.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
of course, they never, rarely
Yeah.
discipline firmly and fairly. That's another subject. I'll save my rant about vet boards for another time.
You can include me in that rant, Scott.
Me too. I'll go too. But that kind of brings up the point we talked about earlier, is that a lot of times you have to go out of state to get a vet. There's no way you're going to get the vet down the street to look at a case and go, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. There's no way. There's way too much at stake for them, right? Their reputation,
Right.
and now you're battling with the guy down the street. No one wants to do that.
One of our new vets that just joined us practices in Alabama, and she said, "I'm happy to join you. I know there's a problem, but there's one condition that I won't agree to." And I said, "What is that?" She said, "Do not give me records to review from a veterinarian that is anywhere near me."
Mhm.
Yeah.
I said, "I'll give you California,
I don't
Washington."
blame her, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Right.
I understand the fear,
I-
and I don't blame her. I
I
mean,
do too. Absolutely.
there's cases like death threats. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about going up against somebody who could lose their veterinary medicine, their license,
Right.
and they could lose their, their job. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm saying that there is a safety concern that these veterinarians have. It's not that they're bad vets, that they recognize, is this something I really want to do? Is come up against my colleagues and say that they're doing something wrong, even though they do know. Like, I commend her greatly. So, and please, just tell her I support her being kind of silent and doing outside of her area.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary. It's a really scary world we live in right now.
But
And
I'm with you guys. I really think I think you're onto something, Carrie, as far as having some of these general standards put in writing, because I think they should be, because it would take the pressure off the vet.
It would, exactly.
You could review the records. The only thing you have to watch for is like when records are fudged, because the biggest problem we have in the records is that the records are not, one, they're not usually conveyed to people at the time that they're done. It's usually like weeks later, and these entries aren't always made the same day. And we've seen records magically change. Like in that rare instance when somebody did get the records, and then, because I always tell people, please get the records, not just the invoice. They're going to give you the invoice, but tell them you need the record too, to keep it, especially if your animal might have to go to emergency or something. You want to have it with you all the time.
Yeah.
And so you get them, and then lo and behold, when it comes time, to litigate, oh, magically we found some other stuff. And oh, look here, the surgeon explained exactly what happened here. And it's not at all close to what was there. Or it doesn't include some of the key conversations that were had, or the restrictions that might have been put on them. So it does matter. Oh, and one other thing too, for the spay neuters, I just wanted to point out for anybody who's listening, don't leave your animal after a spay neuter overnight at the facility unless there is someone there to monitor them, because and this is an area where this is one of those rarer areas where fraud comes up, is if a vet clinic tells you they're going to be there all night or somebody's going to be monitoring, make sure that that's a true statement, because that we've found in a couple cases now that has not been true.
I don't know if it's this in every state, but I do know in the state of California, it has to be posted that there is somebody there, or that there isn't somebody there. So you have to post that somebody isn't there. And I 100% agree with you as a vet tech. I wish wasn't going to say what I'm